This film tells a story set in the future when Earth is facing a severe food shortage. To solve this problem, humans have ventured into space and discovered creatures that can help meet their food needs. These creatures were found floating in space, not on any planets, but near various solar systems. Humans began catching these space creatures just like they catch fish in the sea on Earth, and they sold them at high prices. These space animals caused significant changes in the human body, making them highly valuable. People who owned spaceships would travel into space, capture these creatures, and bring them back to Earth to help with the food shortage. The creatures came in many sizes, both small and large. The larger ones, known as clickers, were the easiest to catch. However, there was one very special creature called the tianlong. The tianlong was enormous, and according to Chinese mythology, it is believed to guard the gates of heaven. No human had ever caught a tianlong, and many thought it was just a myth because they lived far away in dangerous parts of space where humans dared not go. The film opens with a scene of two enormous tianlong creatures in space. Suddenly, a spear hits one of them. It turns out that a hunter group had come to the Hyperion constellation to hunt these massive creatures. The creature was so huge that it destroyed their spaceship, killing everyone on board. The story then jumps forward 24 years to a future where humans rely on space creatures for food. Many large companies travel into space to catch these animals. We are introduced to an important character, a girl named Lynn Navarro, who lands in front of a restaurant on her flying bike. She is on a special mission but cannot enter the restaurant due to a security guard at the entrance. Lynn is in contact with her team, receiving further instructions. Lynn works for a secret agency called ICE, which punishes illegal space hunters. Inside the restaurant, a deal is taking place between a captain named Richard and a businessman named Ahab. Ahab possesses a map of the Hyperion constellation. While many clickers, the smaller space creatures, have been caught, no one has ever captured a tianlong. If someone were to bring a tianlong to Earth, they would become incredibly rich. Richard, a capable captain, is interested in the map, and Ahab wants half of the profits from the tianlong hunt in exchange for it. The map is on paper. Before the deal can be finalized, the guard at the door informs his leader that they are being watched and accuses Richard of betrayal. Ahab's man attacks Richard, who fights back to defend himself. During the struggle, Richard inserts a small parasitic alien worm into Ahab's head, causing Ahab to go insane. Richard manages to escape with the map, saving his own life. 3 months later, we see Richard and his crew embarking on a space expedition to hunt for clickers. Alongside Richard's younger brother Owen, there are 5 other individuals on the ship: an elderly man named Hawthorne, who was a companion to Richard's father, a female pilot named Ragsland, and engineer Stubniski. Additionally, there are Batali and Harpo, each assigned specific duties. Before departing on their mission, Lynn joins their crew covertly as a spy, unknown to them that she is affiliated with ICE. The objective of their mission is to capture clickers, extraterrestrial creatures, and transport them back to Earth. Their spacecraft is equipped with hyperdrive technology, enabling it to travel at the speed of light, making it feasible to reach another solar system within a few days. During the journey, Lynn gathered information about everyone aboard the ship to understand their vulnerabilities. 24 years ago, Richard's father ventured to the Hyperion constellation to capture a tianlong, but tragically, he never returned, presumably lost to the enormous creature. Richard cherished his father deeply and had long since childhood to follow in his footsteps and complete his father's unfinished mission. However, he had not yet embarked on a quest to capture a tianlong himself. After a few days of travel, the crew left their home base and, guided by the map, arrived at a location abundant with creatures similar to clickers. Harpo, Owen, and Hawthorne donned their advanced spacesuits and carried a box and stones that attracted the clickers. They easily captured many clickers in the box, but one managed to escape. Owen pursued it, but suddenly a bright light illuminated the area. Owen collided with a rock and lost consciousness due to the unexpected brightness. After the bright light faded, the tianlong emerged, a creature from ancient tales, now witnessed by the crew for the first time. It lingered briefly before disappearing again. Richard and the others successfully rescued Owen, safely returning him to the ship. Later, Batali, their cook, prepared a meal for everyone, while Lynn began weaving an imaginative story about the tianlong. Lynn described the tianlong as a guardian of heavenly gates, existing in both black and white space, and warned of the dangers of harm harming it. Richard teased her, urging her to return to reality, insisting that the tianlong was merely an animal and nothing more. With the clickers captured and everyone eager to return home, the captain hesitated as he sensed the presence of the tianlong nearby. Despite the crew's anticipation of returning home and enjoying their newfound wealth, the captain hadn't given the order to depart. Meanwhile, Lin discreetly sent a message to her team as her mission was to gather information about the tianlong. Unbeknownst to her, the signal was intercepted by robbers, who swiftly tracked their location. Within hours, the robbers arrived, armed and prepared to steal. Concerned for the safety of the women, Captain Richard instructed Ragsland and Batali to hide within a concealed space on the ship. Faced with armed robbers, fleeing or fighting was not a viable option. Therefore, Richard chose to surrender, but not without a plan. He secretly planted a tracking device among the cargo, intending to recover the stolen goods, specifically the captured space creatures known as clickers. Later on, a thief named Boomer infiltrates their ship. Richard opts not to confront them, while Lin, separated from the other women, becomes a target. Boomer harasses her. Aware that Lin's earlier message led them to the ship, he removes the tracking tag, presenting it to Richard as proof of betrayal among them. The crew is devastated upon realizing this. After plundering the ship of all provisions and cargo, the robbers take control of its systems to prevent any distress signals. Once they depart, Richard blames Lin for their losses and orders Harpo to arrest her. Now stranded without food or any creatures to bring back home, they face a dire situation. The tianlong creature, roaming nearby, posed a formidable challenge, far more difficult than capturing clickers. Despite their losses, Richard devises a strategy for his team. They had already prepared for such setbacks, believing that a single attempt could lead them to capture this enormous creature. Bringing Tianlong back to Earth promised immense wealth, potentially transforming their fortunes. Stranded for many months, their determination to succeed remained unwavering. Owen hesitated to capture the creature because their father had perished in a previous attempt. Richard, motivated by a desire for vengeance, questioned Owen's reluctance, attributing their father's death to the creature. Owen's feelings were more complex, had blamed their father for leaving their ill mother, which strained their relationship. Richard, upset by Owen's perspective, argued that Owen didn't fully understand their father. Their disagreement intensified when Owen realized Richard's change in plans and lack of communication, which he discovered while confiding in Lin, whom he had feelings for. The two brothers were in a heated argument when suddenly a valuable substance coated their spaceship. This substance, which emanated from Tianlong's body, brought them unexpected joy as it outweighed their previous losses. Richard excitedly informed the group, prompting everyone to don their spacesuits and venture out to collect it. However, just as they were gathering the substance, the robbers returned for another attack. Everyone except Richard was outside retrieving the substance, so he urgently called them back due to a hyperdrive malfunction that necessitated their immediate departure. While everyone hurried back, Harpo lingered outside, determined to bring a clicker with him. As Richard prepared to leave without him, engineer Stubnisky swiftly repaired the hyperdrive, miraculously allowing Harpo to board the ship in time. Before Boomer and his men could destroy the ship, the hyperdrive activated, transporting them to another part of space in an instant. Angrily confronting the captain, Harpo accused Richard of nearly abandoning him. But Richard explained he had ordered everyone back, and Harpo was delayed. Hawthorne intervened, ending the argument, revealing the robbers had lost their beacon in the chaos, making it impossible to locate them if they were lost. Although the crew could have returned home, they had broken rules, and Lin, the ice agent, remained on board. Despite acquiring the precious substance, they faced the risk of being caught upon their return. Richard confronted Lin, questioning her presence and motives for spying on them. On the other hand, Stubnisky, their engineer, was locking the clickers when he noticed a small alien parasite worm on his hand. Trying to remove it, the worm managed to burrow into his body, leaving him terrified. Later, we see him washing his body with scalding hot water in an attempt to kill the alien insects now infesting him. Unfortunately, they had begun laying eggs inside him, and their numbers were growing. Stubnisky resorted to self-harm to try and rid himself of the parasites. When Richard questioned Lin about her presence on the ship, she revealed that it had been her mission for the past few years. Her task was to monitor every spacecraft hunting for creatures in space, particularly those like Tianlong. Richard's father was the only one known to have ventured into the part of space where Tianlong was encountered, leading to his demise under mysterious circumstances. Lin had developed a deep fascination for Tianlong, and revered its stories, adamant about protecting it from harm. She warned Richard against attempting to harm the creature, pledging to do everything in her power to prevent it. Despite Lynn's warnings, Richard was consumed by a burning desire for revenge. In the midst of the unfolding events, it emerges that Ragsland and Harpo are romantically involved. When Batali, Harpo's wife, discovers their affair, she reveals to Harpo that she has been pregnant for 3 months. Initially, Harpo was hesitant about having a child due to the challenges involved, but eventually he agrees and begins focusing on his family's future. His priorities shift to caring for his child, wife, and himself. In a bid to secure their future wealth, he also decides to steal the valuable substance they found, intending to use it later. Lynn remained imprisoned on the ship, but after Richard departed, she somehow managed to escape. Harpo discovered her, and they engaged in a physical altercation. Lynn managed to incapacitate Harpo momentarily, but Stubniski's intervention distracted her, allowing Harpo to strike her unconscious with a blow to the head before securing her confinement again. Harpo promptly informed Richard about the incident, revealing Lynn's attempt to tamper with the ship's oxygen supply. After several hours, they arrived at the Hyperion star system. Stubniski, whose mind was increasingly affected by the alien worms, inadvertently released the clickers from their containment. This raised suspicions in Richard about Harpo potentially betraying them, but Hawthorne vouched for Harpo's trustworthiness based on their 6 years of working together. However, tensions remained high among the crew. One freed clicker moved to attack Lynn, prompting Richard to rush to Stubniski's aid. Just in time, Richard intervened and used the cargo to eliminate the clicker, saving Lynn's life in the process. Meanwhile, Owen continued to oppose Richard's decision to capture Tianlong, but Richard remained steadfast in his determination. Suddenly, a burst of light appeared, resembling a wormhole through which Tianlong emerged. The area was littered with wreckage from numerous failed attempts to capture the creature, illustrating its destructive capabilities. Tianlong began attacking their ship, prompting Harpo and Owen to don their spacesuits and attempt to subdue the creature. Tragically, Owen sustained severe injuries during the encounter. Richard could have saved Owen, but Lynn disabled the ship's systems, preventing Richard from taking action. Despite Richard's efforts, Owen succumbed to his injuries, leaving Richard devastated by his brother's death. With Owen's tragic death and the subsequent disappearance of Tianlong through the wormhole, Richard was overwhelmed with grief. In his anguish, he lashed out at Lynn when she shut down the ship's systems, knocking her unconscious. Hawthorne stepped in to comfort Richard, trying to console him amidst the turmoil. When Lynn regained consciousness, Richard confronted her, confessing that he used to have feelings for her, but now everything has changed, blaming her for Owen's death. Though Lynn was genuinely remorseful and never intended for things to escalate to this point, she explained that she was only trying to protect Tianlong, not harm Owen. Despite his grief, Richard made the decision to return home, but they realized Stubniski was missing. Unbeknownst to them, alien parasites had infested Stubniski, driving him to madness. Lynn advocated for eliminating him for the safety of everyone aboard, as their ship's weapons had been seized by the robbers. Left with only an old sword, Richard entrusted it to Lynn for defense. With just one escape pod available, Harpo plotted to flee with his wife, attempting to recruit Ragsland into their escape plan. But she remained loyal to Richard, refusing to betray her captain. Their ship encountered a mysterious and hostile environment, facing system failures and pursued by Boomer and his gang. Amidst the chaos, Tianlong reappeared, wreaking havoc and damaging their ship. However, Ragsland's quick thinking managed to save their ship, while Tianlong inadvertently destroyed Boomer's ship and his crew in the process. In the ship, Lynn desperately searched for Stubniski, now infected and dangerous. When she finally found him, a violent struggle ensued, resulting in Lynn severing his hand. Despite this, Stubniski managed to escape. Meanwhile, Harpo finalized his escape plan, intending to abandon everyone else on the ship, including his wife only. While Ragsland was in the midst of a shower, Stubniski, now completely overtaken by the alien parasites, killed her and then Batali. Lynn arrived just in time to witness the carnage and used the sword to strike Stubniski. In the airlock, Harpo clashed with Hawthorne over his selfish plan, leading to a fatal altercation where Harpo was killed. As their ship faced another attack from the monstrous creature, Richard, driven by vengeance for his brother and father, donned a suit and confronted it head-on himself. Despite his valiant efforts, Richard also succumbed in the battle against the creature. Before the ship was destroyed, Lynn locked herself into the escape pod, which separated from the ship just before it's destroyed. Hawthorne, the lone survivor, witnessed the deaths of all his companions and the destruction of their ship. As the wormhole opened once more, both the creature and Lynn disappeared from sight. Hawthorne, trapped in his suit with depleting oxygen, faced his inevitable death, marking a tragic end for everyone involved. Months later, another spaceship embarked on a mission to find their lost crewmates. Unexpectedly, a wormhole emerged, ejecting Lin's escape pod. Lin, who had always advocated for Tianlong's protection, emerged as the sole survivor of the ill-fated expedition. The film concludes with this. Thanks for tuning in, guys.